From the very first moment she saw his name disappear from the screen, replaced by a cold gray last online 2 hours ago, Maya felt something crack inside her softly at first, then deeper, like a fault line she didn't know existed beneath her own heart. For months, Leo had been the constant in her life. The voice that steadied her during lonely nights, the presence that made the world feel smaller, safer, and somehow kinder. But now, as she stared at her phone in the dim glow of her apartment, a sharp, unexplainable fear coiled through her chest. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. And for the first time since they begun their long-distance relationship, Maya felt the truth pressing against her like icy fingers. Leo was hiding something huge. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. Maya and Leo had met on a volunteer forum for disaster relief students nearly a year ago. She lived in Lahore, he lived in Istanbul. Their worlds were far apart, separated by time zones, cultures, and thousands of miles. But somehow, their hearts had aligned perfectly, like two stars drawn to each other against the logic of the universe. It wasn't meant to be serious at first. Maya had told herself it was just a friendship, a comforting voice, someone to talk to during her long nights of medical studying. But the way Leo laughed, the way he listened, the way he remembered, every little detail she mentioned, it was impossible not to fall. And fall she did, quietly then completely, even though she knew loving someone from afar meant carrying a kind of ache that never fully left. Their relationship had grown in messages, late-night video calls, shared dreams, and whispered promises of meeting someday. Leo always told her that once he got through a rough phase, he would finally visit her, finally show her the life he was building, the one he wanted her to be part of. Maya never pushed him. She believed him. She trusted him. But trust, she would learn, is sometimes the slowest burning fuse waiting to reach a hidden truth. The change began subtly. Leo started replying slower, missing calls, disappearing for whole days without warning. When Maya asked if everything was okay, he said he was handling some things and didn't want to stress her. At first, she tried to understand. She tried to be patient. But patience becomes painful when the person you love slowly becomes a stranger. And one night, when he didn't show up to their planned call for the third time in a week, Maya felt a dread settle over her like a shadow that refused to move. Her closest friend Ariba told her that long-distance relationships often came with secrets. People hide their loneliness, their struggles, their mistakes. But Maya didn't believe Leo was the kind of man who would lie to her. Yet doubt is a quiet, poisonous thing. It seeps, and even when you try to shut the door. One evening, as Maya walked home through the soft winter haze, she found her phone buzzing. A notification. Leo had finally messaged. But instead of relief, she felt a wave of confusion when she read his words. He simply wrote, "Maya, I need to tell you something. Please don't hate me after this." Her legs weakened beneath her. Her heart hammered painfully. A chill washed over her, and suddenly the city noise around her felt distant, muted. She rushed home, hands trembling, fear tightening its grip. But when she replied, Leo didn't respond. Not that night, not the next morning, not for 2 days, until, finally, a message appeared from someone else, someone who introduced themselves as Leo's friend. They explained that Leo was in the hospital, that he had collapsed, that he had insisted someone inform Maya because she deserved to know. Deserved to know what? The friend wouldn't say. The fear that had followed her for weeks now wrapped around her throat like a tightening cord. Maya didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She waited, checking her phone every few minutes, praying for a sign, a call, anything. On the fourth day, she got a video call request from Leo's account. Her breath caught. She answered instantly. But when the screen lit up, it wasn't Leo's smiling, warm face. It was a dim hospital room and a pale, exhausted man lying among wires and monitors. There he was, alive, but barely recognizable. The moment Maya saw him, her chest caved in. His cheeks were sunken, his eyes dull and tired, his once bright energy drained as if life itself had been leaking out of him for months. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. And then she heard his voice, fragile, trembling. "Maya, I'm sorry." He told her everything. For months, Leo had been fighting a degenerative heart condition he'd kept secret. He didn't want her to worry. He didn't want to become a burden. He thought he could handle it alone. But the truth was that he had been deteriorating rapidly. The reason he didn't visit, the reason he disappeared, the reason he grew distant, it wasn't because he didn't love her. It was because he was scared she'd walk away if she knew he might not have a long life ahead. He wanted to spare her the pain of loving someone who could leave at any moment. But in trying to protect her, he had hurt her more deeply than he ever imagined. Maya listened, her heart breaking with every word. She had dreamed of meeting him, of seeing him in person, of building a life someday. But now, the reality was that she might lose him before ever holding his hand. Yet in that moment, one truth shone brighter than fear. She loved him. Not because he was strong, not because he was perfect, but because he was human. And she saw the kindness in him even through a screen thousands of miles away. Over the next few weeks, Maya became Leo's anchor. She woke up early to match his hospital schedule, talked to him through treatments, sent voice notes to remind him he wasn't alone. Sometimes he was too weak to speak, but he always listened, eyes softening whenever she said his name. His friends, nurses, and even doctors noticed how his vitals stabilized every time Maya called. They encouraged her, prompting her to do something she had been too afraid to consider before. Visit him in person. For the first time, it was terrifying. Her family worried. Her friends questioned it. Traveling across countries for a man she had never physically met seemed reckless, even foolish to some. But love often demands courage that logic cannot explain. And Maya had reached a point where the fear of losing him forever outweighed every other fear she carried. She booked the ticket. She packed a small bag with gifts, a sweater she had knit, a handwritten letter, and a small vial of perfume he once said reminded him of rainstorms. During the flight, she couldn't breathe properly from anxiety. She rehearsed what she would say. She imagined every possible scenario. But nothing prepared her for the moment she walked into the hospital room and saw. Leo's eyes widened with disbelief, then filled slowly but beautifully with tears. He whispered her name like it was a prayer. It was their first touch, their first moment together beyond glass screens, and it felt like the world had paused just for them. Maya took his hand gently, feeling the frailness beneath her palm, and knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Days turned into weeks. Leo's condition improved slowly, miraculously, because love, when poured sincerely, has a way of healing what medicine sometimes cannot. The doctor said he was responding better than expected. He had hope again. He had a reason to fight, and Maya stayed through it all. But healing isn't linear, and there were nights when Leo would break down, apologizing for hiding the truth, for pushing her away, for not believing he deserved her loyalty. Maya would sit beside him, her fingers tracing circles on his arm, and tell him that love isn't about perfection, it's about presence, about choosing someone again and again, even when life becomes heavy. One evening, after a particular difficult treatment, Leo asked her the question he had been too afraid to voice. "Do you regret coming?" Maya shook her head, tears shining in her eyes. "If I hadn't come, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life." And that was the truth. Their story wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was real. It was raw. And it was theirs. And Leo, for the first time in months, began to truly believe he had a future worth fighting for. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional, real-life stories to the world. Before the ending, please comment below, would you travel across the world for someone you love? In the months that followed, Leo's health continued to improve slowly but steadily. And though life remained uncertain, one thing became beautifully, powerfully clear: love honest, patient, forgive. Love has the strength to turn fear into hope, distance into closeness, and secrets into second chances. And Maya, she didn't just discover the truth he had hidden. She discovered the extraordinary courage of her own heart.